Well, good evening, Laura. And this is slightly strange. So good evening to everyone who's watching this video. We normally do this from the Vine Evangelical Church in Sevenoaks, but here we go, lockdown version 2. And I'm at home tonight, and Laura's at home. Laura's in Sevenoaks, I believe, and I'm about 7 miles outside of Sevenoaks, and we're about, for those of you who are not members of the church, we're about 30-40 miles from the centre of London in the UK. So welcome everyone, and thank you, Laura, for agreeing to be the subject of our discussion this evening. That's very brave of you. Perhaps you'd just like to introduce yourself, and if you can, could you start by saying what was life like for you during your childhood, from that point you can remember? Because I think we all have a first memory as a child, and perhaps you could start off at that point you remember. What was life like for you then, Laura?
Well, I was born in Nunhead near Peckham, and then moved to Catford in southeast London. And
so you're a Londoner then?
Yes, and so that's the only home I know. And I had one sister, was a bit of a tomboy, had a lovely mum and dad, still do. I'm very fortunate, and just happy family life. Used to love football, and just being a bit of a tomboy, and really enjoyed my childhood. Really did. Yeah.
Fantastic. So your mum and dad are still around with you at the moment?
They are, yes. Not so. Yeah, they're well, and yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. And how are they surviving lockdown?
It's difficult. We're going. My sister and I are going over. That's the only outing we are having. Kind of 2 other people taking food and visiting them, because they're quite on their own really. So yeah, it's difficult. Yeah. They're okay.
Yeah. So tell me more about your mum, because from our conversations in the past, I understand it was mum who brought Christianity into your family. Can you tell us a bit about that and how it actually happened?
I can, yes. My mum was she lived in Kennington in London, and in a block of flats there, and she didn't see any countryside. Then she was evacuated in the Second World War.
Oh, where did she go to?
She went to Yeoford near Credington in Devon.
Devon, oh crikey!
So she was about 4 then, and she'd never seen the countryside. Thought it was wonderful, and still very happy memories there. And she stayed with a family, the Holcombs, who used to go to church every week to this little chapel. And there was a lodger, but also kind of like an uncle. Not really an uncle, but as you had uncles then, a blacksmith, and he was a strong Christian, used to go to this little chapel around the corner. And I've actually got the Bible that he gave my mum, and she was 6 years old. I don't know if you can catch that.
Wow. And can you just turn it around a little bit more so I can read the front? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It actually says, A.B. Warner, age 6 years, from Uncle Thomas. And she remembered Uncle Thomas, and there's a photo of him and my mum. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
And my mum's got a little dog there.
So that's when she was 6?
Yes, and on the back of it, on her Bible that he gave her, it says that her life changed. She says, Uncle Thomas Owen, this man helped to change my life when I was 4/5. He said, I want you to give your life to the Lord Jesus. And that's what she's written on the back of her.
Wow.
So it was through going to church when she was evacuated that she first went to church and knew about Jesus, really. Her parents weren't Christians, and then she came back to London. She didn't want to leave, but she came back to London, and she still kept in touch with them, and one of them was a lifelong friend. But when she was courting with my dad, he said to her one Sunday, where do you want to go? I've got so much money, like a limited amount of money. Do you want to go to the pictures? Do you want to go for a walk in the park? And she turned to him and said, I want to go to church. And so they started to go to church at Hanover Chapel, and made lots of friends there. And my dad came to faith, and he ran a youth club in the church, and My mum did Sunday school. So I was brought up going to church on a Sunday. We travelled over to Peckham and was brought up in the church until I was about 13, 14, when I got a weekend job that was on a Saturday. But my mum brought that Christianity into our family, and so it filtered down, which is, quite special, I think, really.
So do you think you became a Christian at that time, or what were your feelings towards it?
Well, I did believe in God. I think I kind of did believe in God, but then I remember a Sunday school teacher there, and he was, I could see that he really believed in God. When he was late once, he was talking to us. I was in like an early, probably 11, 12, and he said, "Oh yeah," and I was rushing to hear, and I prayed, and it was a praying and God was on his side, because all the lights changed, the traffic lights, and he just lived his faith, praying in little things, and that made quite a big impression on me. And I also had a real Christian godparents who I remember used to really screw their eyes up and prayed and were so joyful, and that had a big impression on me. And I thought, but then I don't think it was till later in life, because I came away from the church and was just busy with life and working at the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So I just went to Christmas Day services and that with my parents. But it was a seed, and it was planted, really, I would say,
Right. So what do you think actually brought you back to it then? Because for those of you who don't know Laura, I would say that you're one of the most steadfast people of faith that I know.
Oh, right. I don't know, I'd say that. I don't know any other people in the church at all, no. Well, I moved to Sevenoaks when I got married, and then had my first child, Holly, and we were in a little one-bedroom flat for quite a few years. And when Holly was about 6 months, I thought, it was quite a shock, because I was working full-time before I had Holly, and then was made redundant about 3 weeks before her birth. So I was working up to then, and it just felt so empty. I didn't know anybody in Sevenoaks, and it was quite lonely, really. And I just thought, there's got to be more to life than this. I obviously loved Holly a lot, but just felt a bit lost, really, and started thinking about the bigger picture. And I remember looking down at Holly, and she was what a creation, all these teeny little fingers and toes. And I just, it does make you think about, gosh, what a creator,
Yeah.
So I went along to a local church, which was United Reformed Church, local to me, and met people there in the creche. And it was lovely, just to be really welcomed there. And so I started going back to church, really. And through that, I joined a mother and toddler group, made friends, and then came to Vine Evangelical Churches, Mothers and Others, where I just felt such a sense of peace. There was a lot of young mums from the church there. I felt so much friendship, and just almost, you stepped in, I could feel it really hit me, and I kind of, got friends there and got alongside people, and I kind of wanted what they had,
It sounds like that old saying, it sounds like you felt like you were coming home in a way.
Yes, but it took a while to drift in, to recognise that properly.
Yeah.
But it was just lovely. It was like a haven in the week, the once a week meetings. Lovely. And the people I met there,
Did something sort of like click, and you thought, I'm definitely got my faith back, or was it just a process over the years that gradually returned to you?
Well, I think it was always it was always there, but then I wouldn't say that I had that joy or anything like that. So what happened was that I didn't change churches to go to VEC at that time, but I was pregnant with my second child, Thea, and at 28 weeks, which is 6 months into a pregnancy of a normal 9-month or pregnancy, I had a very premature baby. Gosh. And I'd actually gone into my old church on that day. She was born on a Sunday, and when I woke up in the flat, I had terrible pains, which I didn't even think were labour pains, which was a bit stupid, really. And I got Holly ready. We went round the corner to church.
But why would you at 6 months? I mean, that's very early, isn't it?
Yes.
Very early.
So I just thought, oh, whatever. And then struggled round to church. And with this pregnancy, when I was in church, I couldn't stand up to I used to feel a bit dizzy and lightheaded when I'd stand up to sing the songs. But on this particular day, I got into church, sat down, and I felt fine. The pains went off, and I could stand up and sing the songs. And so I just listened to the service and everything was fine. As soon as the sermon's finished and the service had finished, all the pain started going back. So I quickly went home, stopped several times, pushing the pram on the way home, doubled up with pain, and got back to home. And my husband said to me, your pains are coming 5 minutes apart, which I didn't even consider, So we rushed to the hospital, and Thea was born, and I had to have an emergency cesarean because the leg was born, but not, so it was just some entanglement and everything. So yeah, she was born and was in hospital for 12 weeks. And while she literally stayed in until the day that she should have been due. And she was on.
That must have been traumatic for you.
It was, yeah. And obviously I had Holly at home. It was just, she was only about 16 months or so at this time. And yeah, she was on a ventilator, was on lots of medication. There was lots of times we didn't know whether she would live or die, really. And but I felt this time that, loads of people were praying in the church, and friends as well. And all the time that she was in hospital, and it was, really difficult looking after a toddler and going back into church, although people did help look after Holly at times so I could visit, because I used to go up there every day. But I felt that God was in control of it. You're kind of I don't know what sort of a state, but just in a zone then, where you're just concentrating on going to the hospital, coming home, feeding your children, feeding Holly and looking after the home, and then going back. I just felt that God was in control, or it was up to him what happened to her, if she was lost or, whatever. And then the doctors and then the nurses. And a couple of vicars did come in, friends who were my current vicar and another friend who was a vicar, and offered to pray over the incubator and everything over my daughter. And they did pray, and I know that lots of other people were praying as well, but they offered to christen her, and I didn't want her to be christened, because to me, I thought, well, if she dies, God will love my child anyway. It was almost, if I had her christened mentally, I was thinking, that she's going to die then, that, I didn't think that really, I don't know. It was just a bit confusing, but I wouldn't let her christen her. I wanted her, whatever happened, that she was in God's hands, really.
But that's an incredible, faithful thing to say, considering the struggles you were going through with, one child at home, hopefully quite healthy, I believe, but with Thea, in hospital, desperately ill. That must have been a period of struggle for you.
It was quite hard going, yeah, it really was, yeah.
But to have that faith, or to have that belief that God was in control, that's quite something.
Yeah, I don't know if it was total faith, because because I went on to make a commitment later after that, because I actually went to a parents' discussion at my old church, and I took Jan Wiles with me, a friend that I've made in Mothers and Others, and she came and we were talking about parenting, and it was just a general discussion thing. And we came back in the car and just talked about it. And I know that Jan had been praying for me, and we'd struck up a friendship. And she said, we talked quite a bit. And then she said to me, I've got this, you could pray this prayer if you wanted. And so she gave me this little booklet by Norman Warren, which is just a little brieflet saying, asking it was Journey into Life, asking God to come into your life. So I went home and I prayed that prayer, and decided then, you know, I wanted what she had, that peace, you know, in everything, and it all sort of dropped into place really.
Yeah.
And the next day, because I felt, to be honest, I mean, Thea was out of hospital now, so she was back at home, but it was still quite a struggle because I only had like 16 months between them, and she was on lots of alarms when she came home, and a bit of medication, well, quite a bit of medication as well, just to get her up to speed. So I was quite exhausted really, and felt it was a bit of a trudge, although I loved my children and everything else, but it was difficult. But then when I had taken that step towards God and asked him into my life, the next day I felt such an overwhelming love for my children, for everything, you know. I was just totally drenched in it, and it was just, I don't know, it was just a wonderful feeling, and I felt that God was showing me how much he loved me, and that because it was in me, I could pass it on to other people. And I was just,
you're going to have to resurrect that prayer and share it with us all at some stage.
It was just a simple prayer, but it was just a wonderful feeling, and just knew that something had changed, and God was living in me, and was giving out that love. So you're now at home with two hopefully quite healthy children now. I gather Thea got to, let's call it, full sort of strength by that time. So take us through the next few years. What happened in your life after the next few years, during the next few years? Well, I just carried on looking after my children. I changed and moved to an evangelical church, and just there was lots of mums there. We were all bringing up our children together. It was lovely, you know, and we all had, I think it was just it was just lovely, just really nice. There was a mum's study group. We'd meet once a month that lots of people came to, the mums, and it was encouraging, and we were looking at the Bible and words of wisdom from an older mum, Elizabeth, who blessed us all so many times, you know. And with her, she was a Christian, and her faith and that, and she was teaching us young mums, you know, how to live our lives and everything. It was great, you know. And then I went on to have two more premature babies. I had Andrew at 9 weeks early. Usually he was born at 31 weeks. Usually you're pregnant for 40.
So a bit later than Thea, but still quite a few weeks early then.
Yes, yeah. But he was well. He had feeding problems and was in hospital for a few weeks, but not as long as Thea, and came out very happy. I was very blessed. And then I had a bit of a gap, and then I had was pregnant with Falana, my youngest, and I was really ill with Falana. I couldn't keep any food in. I literally looked like, well, I was starving because nothing was staying in me. And I was pretty exhausted with 3 children, and all very young. And I remember being in the bath, just so exhausted and drained out with it, but obviously wanting to keep my baby healthy. And I remember praying, sitting in the bath, dear Lord, I can't go on like this anymore. I just feel so exhausted, but I want my baby to be well, and I just can't carry on like this. And then after the next day, I went into labour. Falana was born 7 weeks early, and she was well, considering how ill I had been, you know. And I just felt God answered my prayers, really. And because they couldn't work out what the problem with me, because I was pregnant, I couldn't go to a specialist to find out what it was. And they discovered that I had celiac illness, and, you know, wasn't tolerating gluten and things like that. So once I got the diet right, everything was okay again. You know, Falana was in hospital for a few weeks again, but I mean, she was another blessing, really. And I really felt God heard my prayers when I was in the bath, and just passing it over to him. So yes. And then life carried on, you know, with the family, and was busy and everything. And then my marriage ended when my youngest was about 6, Falana. And yeah, it's quite difficult for children and being alone with them. But it was good as well, you know. I loved my children, and the church was a great support to me, really, and my friends there. And I wouldn't say that I leaned on them, hopefully not too much, and that, but I had good friends, and I just felt I could be honest with people, really, and I was accepted there, and my children were loved, you know, in the church, and it was brilliant. And I do think that was such a help for me and for my children, because my children knew that they were loved, and, you know, by the Sunday school teachers, the people we knew at the church, the family friends, the youth workers, who when the children went into their teens, were just so crucial. And I'm just so grateful, really, showing role models to my children, not just me, you know, and other people and friends as well. But
it sounds like that uncle in Crediton has got a lot to be thanked for then, doesn't it? Eh?
He has, yeah. But I just, you know, just so grateful for anybody that have been involved in my children's life, you know, and shaped them and led them, talked to them, for Long Barn Camp and for Seven Oaks Campaigners, who were, you know, are still, my grandson goes to Seven Oaks Campaigners now. Well, not literally now, but, you know, he is going when he's allowed to, with the COVID. But yeah, I've just got so much thanks for them, you know, because they walked with my children through rebellion and lots of things, really, you know. I'm so grateful to them.
Yeah, that must have been a really tough time for you. I mean, thank the Lord for church, because bringing up a bunch of teenagers on single-handedly must have been, you must have been tested there.
Yeah, well, I remember walking past, unrelated to going to church, walking past the church, just coming up Hitchin Hatch Lane and thinking, oh my goodness, I've got 4 children to get through teenage years. How am I going to do that? That was just, you know, but they come through, and I'm, you know, proud of them. And it was a big blessing. Yeah.
That's brilliant news. But your struggles didn't stop there with your physical health, because you had quite a severe deterioration sometime after this period, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Do you want to tell us about that, or is that still a bit raw?
No, it's good. It's good. So years went on, and then the doctors found out that I had a failing liver, and I've got an autoimmune disease, which isn't to do with anything to do with drink or drugs or anything like that. It's just basically my liver was fighting itself. So it eventually, despite lots of medication and everything, it led to me having cirrhosis of the liver, and it was I needed to have a transplant, which was quite a shock, really, because I thought I was going on all right with the tablets that I was given, you know. And but yeah, that was a big thing. And I went on previous to that, I'd met my now husband Paul, and it was a bit of a shock to us. And so I got the news and was a bit shell shocked. We didn't know what the future held for us, really, because as you can imagine, lots of people on the transplant list don't get donors. You have to be quite well in yourself to be able to receive the transplant. And it was a long time waiting. Paul and I got married soon after we found out, in October, literally the next month. We just went and got married quickly, with not telling anybody, because it was too big a thing to arrange, and we just wanted to get that sorted. And we did the practicalities of making a will, and I wrote letters to my children, you know, because we didn't know what the future was, really. So that was that.
And how were the children reacting to this shocking news?
Yes, I think they were worried and concerned and quite anxious about it. And then obviously as time went on, I think 18 months is meant to be 18 months to 2 years. So as it was getting to the 2 years, they were, oh, come on, you know, when are you going to have it? It was increasing worry for them and for Paul, really. And Paul and my children did actually offer to be donors, and so did family and a friend as well, you know, because you have to be the same blood type. But then there's Paul and Thea were the ones that could potentially be donors because they had the same blood group and everything, but the size of their liver wasn't quite right, the size for mine. So, and I wasn't sure if I wanted them to do that anyway. I was worried about that, but they did go along with it and had tests. Yeah, but that worked. It didn't work, so I still had to wait. But yeah, but personally, I felt quite calm about it all, really. I did feel that God was in charge again, and that the right time would come, you know, whether it was or not. So I did get a phone call, and funnily enough, previous to this, Holly, my older daughter, had a dream about being told that, you know, it was coming up, the time would be, you know, okay and everything, and it was coming up soon, and just that it would be all right, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, how powerful is that? And reinforcing that your belief that you know, God is in control.
Yes, yeah, and it was a lovely time in a way, because I had my mum's birthday had been the Saturday before, so we'd all had a big family gathering, and Paul's family, and Paul's mum was there as well, and all the cousins, my sister and everyone, we'd all been together, and it was just really nice. And so that was perfect, really. Finished my work week, and then
the phone call came through,
yeah,
announcing that they'd found a donor, and what happened after that? What sort of time lapse is there?
Well, we got the call around 12 o'clock on a Thursday evening in the end of August, last day in August, and then we travelled up there. But you're expecting to be turned away, because they get a few people up in for reserve if it doesn't work out, and often they get the liver and it's not suitable. It's, you know, so we went, but expecting to be turned away. But I was told that no, I was going to have the whole liver. Usually they halve it and give to 2 recipients, and I was told that, and no, if it looked good, and so it was going to happen, you know. So yeah, so Paul and I we met. So we just prepared for it. When we got to the hospital, the lady that just had to do some more blood tests and everything else to make sure I was healthy and everything before the operation the next day, and we met a lovely Polish nurse who had a cross on, called Barbara, and I said to her, "Oh, it's amazing that you're, you know, doing my notes, because you're a Christian, and that is a comfort to me, you know." And I just felt God was showing me in this that he had his hand on it. I was quite relaxed anyway, because I thought, well, to be honest, whatever happened, God would look after me. So I wasn't nervous particularly. It was just an opportunity that hopefully, you know, it would all be good. So that was, I just felt, that was, just peace. It was hard for Paul, I think, to see me to go into the operation, but I was quite happily chatting to the nurse and that, and just went in not worried at all, really.
And during your time in hospital, Laura, I think we were, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we had quite a good commentary coming from you in the events that happened about the events that happened in hospital, whilst you were speaking with some of your fellow patients and that. Can you tell us a bit about that, and what happened during that time, and the relationships you formed with your fellow patients? Yes,
just winding back a little bit. So obviously I was in a lot of pain, and you're so disorientated when you first have the operation and come through. But when I came out of intensive care onto the ward, still with a lot of tension, you wake up, you're on such high painkillers and everything, you're not seeing things straight and everything. And I was really frightened, because I felt like it was like a huge paving stone rested on my chest and down to all my trunk, really. It was, obviously there'd been a lot of fiddling about with me in my insides and everything. And so I woke up and I just thought, oh, I had an awful dream and was just really frightened. And one nurse came in and I tried to talk to her and I wanted to get out and get some fresh air because she felt so hot in the hospital and everything. But obviously I couldn't get up. And then another nurse came in to me and she came over. Tommy, her name was, and she was a lovely nurse. And she came over and then, I don't know how, because I can't quite remember the conversation, but she said something about, oh, she was a Christian too. And so she, for a few minutes, she just held my hand and I thought, oh, I'm not here. I'm not in a terrible dream. She's here. God is with me, and that just brought so much comfort to me. It was, it was probably nothing to her, but we had a brief conversation and I felt she was like my angel.
Yeah.
Looking over me, and all the nurses were lovely and everything, but fantastic. That was just, built me up. And then after the operation and getting better on the ward, I just felt God was really blessing me and I was having conversations with people, praying with people. People were open, and it was terribly sad, a lot of people in a lot of pain and the outlook wasn't good, but I said to people, can I pray?
And some of those people didn't have the reassurance or comfort that you experienced, which, yeah. Yeah,
it was, it was a special time because I felt so bold and sort of alive, although I was not quite as well as I would like to be, but it was all part of the set.
Improving.
Yes, I was improving every day. It was great, really, to have that opportunity. And I just felt a lot of love for people. I think staying in a hospital, watching people around you, just gives you, I don't know, just a different vision of things. And there was a lady next to me called Susan who she'd been in and out of hospital lots of times, and she was an alcoholic and was calling out and everything. But we really struck up a lovely friendship, really, and I really grew to love her, and I met another lady there and Maxine and lots of people there, and I was sending prayers back to the texting and sending them back to the church and to Jan to pass on to you. And it was great that everyone was praying for these people. It was lovely to say to them, look, is it okay if my church prays for you, if people pray for you? And they were accepting it, and it was lovely. And another situation, there was a lovely Irish nurse. I mean, they were all great staff. I was so blessed with them all lovely staff. Was an Irish nurse, Chloe, and she was doing some treatment to me, and it wasn't nice, and I just thought, there were people there that had mental illnesses and physical illnesses, because the drugs anyway make you a bit out of sorts.
Yeah.
And people were sitting by them and comforting them, and I just felt there was all these nurses and staff who, all different backgrounds, races, everything, it was just lovely, such a lovely mix of people. And I felt that it was a bit like heaven. And I said this to this Chloe, I said, it's like everyone just cares about each other, and it doesn't matter who you are, what your problem is.
Yeah.
And I just thought it's wonderful. It's a bit like a sense of heaven here, just looking at everybody. Oh, what can I do to help you feel more comfortable? You were accepted, whatever it was. It was just brilliant. And I thought, oh, isn't this lovely? If this could be like this in the outside world, where people
fantastic. Just. And you previously mentioned to me that something about a song. Was there a song that went on in the ward?
There was, yeah. Susan. Yeah, Susan was sort of crying out a bit as she was in pain, and she'd grown and that. And somebody, you couldn't move, but then a nurse was walking up the ward, and he heard this moan, and he recognised Susan because she'd been in and out so many times. And he was whistling. It was a Sunday morning. He was whistling a Christian hymn. I can't remember which one it was now. And I thought, oh, there's a Christian. Then I'm saying to one of the nurses, oh, you know, who's singing that? And they said, oh, it's Efi. And I said, oh, could you ask him to pop in and see, you know, us a minute? And so he popped in, and he was a Christian, and he said, oh, I'm usually at church on a Sunday. I said, oh, I recognise that hymn. That was so lovely. I said, I'm usually at a church as well, you know. Would you come back and sing, you know, for this little ward that I was in? And I checked with everyone that they didn't mind. And he sang Amazing Grace to us, you know, and it was lovely because it was so heartfelt, and yeah, it was really uplifting. And
oh, brilliant.
Another touch from God. I felt that he was all around looking after, you know. It was brilliant. Yeah. Listen, and you should feel.
Wow.
Go for it.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was full blind, and now I see. Was blind, but now I see. I'm amazing, sing grace, I'm amazing, how sweet, I'm amazing, that stand, I'm amazing, that save, I'm amazing, a wretch like me. I was once blind, but now am found. Was lost, but now I see. Sorry.
Fantastic. Right, let's give us that. That's fantastic.
I'm just.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We're just happy, isn't it?
We are.
So I'm getting a really big sense that you were so supported by everyone, not only people in the church, but, you know, Paul, other friends, family.
Yeah.
And that must have done so much for your faith. Tell us a little bit about, you know, how your faith has, you know, what difference has it made to your life, and how's it sort of helped you to survive this quite eventful life that you've lived so far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm extremely grateful for the donor and their family, and all the cards and prayers that, you know, people would text in, songs. It was amazing really to be in hospital and feel that. And yeah, and all the churches that prayed. Some people didn't even know me, but they'd been passed on, oh, please, could you pray for this person? It was just overwhelming. So I felt so supported, and I've always felt fortunate, and that God is there, you know, I suppose, in my life, which he has been, you know, and there have been some hard times as well, you know, and just always feeling that, well, he's in charge, and a great feeling that even with my children, concerns I had, and all through the years, that, well, it wasn't just left to me, because I didn't have to get it all right. I was just failing at, you know, like, I'm sure I failed at lots of things, you know, parenting and this, but I didn't feel that the weight was just on me, because God was there. He could do miracles, and he was looking after my children. And where I don't know, didn't deal with things right, or whatever I did, you know, God was there as well, and he loved my children and loved me. And it, you know, it wasn't just up to me. God was in charge, and so I could say my prayers, or I'm worried about this for one of them or something, and just send it up, you know. And that's something that God has always, you know, sometimes you don't know how he's going to answer it. And there have been times when there's been brick walls, and I think, well, I can't see how this is ever going to get sorted, but it has been in ways that I have never could even conceive, you know. So yeah. I just felt God was, you know, has always been there, and he's looking after us, whatever situation. And I think that he's got a plan for us all, really. And I don't know, and even if I had have passed, really, I just think, well, life on earth is so short, really, compared to eternity, that, it's been a blessing, whatever, really. And
so, Laura, I mean, listening to what you're saying there, and perhaps you've already said it, but as you'll know, at this moment in our lives, we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic, and I suspect there's a lot of people in hospital, and they feel like they're suffering. They might feel like they're alone, and worst of all, they might be scrabbling around for some hope somewhere. You've been through it. You've done it. You've got the T-shirt and everything. What could you say to those people now? Who feel so much despair?
I think, I think it is extremely tough, and there's not an easy way. But I mean, I would, I can only say for myself, really, it's just been a huge thing to have God in my life, and I would urge anyone to sort of get to know a church, maybe through, the services and things that are put on, or an Alpha course online or something, because it makes such a huge difference to whatever it is. Even, if the outcome doesn't change, you're still, I don't know, it's still going to be tough, and we've got a long way to go with COVID, and there'll still be sad times. But I think, I love my church. I love the people in it. I just feel part of a family there. And there may be people that are lonely, and I would urge them to take that brave step to, to reach out to church and reach out to God, because he's just there, and it's, there are hard things, and he'll be by your side no matter what, really. And that's, it's
I can't think of anything more powerful. I know we've had some great news about some potential breakthroughs on vaccines this week, but I think your message there is probably one that's the most powerful. And Laura, I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I don't know if there's anything that we may have missed, or if there's anything else that you'd like to add to what we've already spoken about. I just want to thank you so much for being so open and candid, and so joyful in your expression about your faith.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's house group is brilliant, and I just do love my church and the people that have been involved in my life. And I also want to just take this opportunity, really, to thank everybody, really, and my husband, who has been a total blessing, really, because poor thing, he didn't realise when he met me that there'd be such a... He
didn't sign up for this, did he?
He didn't, no. And he looked after me.
Rather, he did, because you got married when it was found out. So that's.
But he looked after me so well, and his family were all lovely. And I just, I've got so much to be grateful for, and the people that prayed, and the cards, and all that. And I think that has made a huge difference as well. Just
Okay.
Just a thank you, big thank you, and a thank you that I was given this opportunity, which I don't take lightly, and being given a liver as well is just, it's brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, Laura. Well, look, I'm going to say thank you very much. I'm probably just going to close off now by saying to anyone who's watching this, watching this video, if you're struggling at the moment, then please get in contact with us or someone in the church. Our contact details will be displayed once I've shut up, and do follow Laura and get involved, and come and see what support and family you could fall back on by coming to visit us, or a church of your own in your own locality. So that's it from us for another session. We wish you well, and I wish you all a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you.